It's a can, a magic can. You put a magic gem inside and out comes a magic monster. A Lil Monster. And holy crap, it's cute. And then it dies. And the cycle continues. Lil Monster is a little known, mostly forgotten monster racing simulator sort of thing for the Game Boy Color. It was developed by a company called Kid. I briefly mentioned them in the dating sim video, but aside from developing games that would make Richard Varuino rethink his life choices, they also worked on a variety of other genres during the 90s. Lil Monster was released in April of 1999 in Japan, published by Kid themselves, and in August of 2000 in America, published by H-Tech. But before getting into this obscure game, maybe it will be better to get into an even more obscure one. Lil Monster is actually the sequel to Kanzume Monsters, another monster racing simulator sort of thing, released in March of 1998 for the Game Boy. Curiously enough, the game was developed and published by a company called IMAX, and Kid's name is nowhere to be seen. In June of 1999, a color version named Kanzume Monsters Parfait was also released. Kanzume Monsters, or Canned Monsters, starts with picking a can. You have a wide selection of cans to pick from, such as the red can, the star can, the paw can, the blackface can. Once you've picked your freak of nature, this flea guy tells you all about how to race your monster. With this, you've started your journey in the wonderful world of a Tamagotchi wannabe. After a few moments of your canned monster jumping around and twisting its can in disturbing ways that shouldn't physically be possible, you finally get to see what your little thing looks like. And holy crap, it's cute. Feed it, play with it, take it on walks, clean its poop. One of the exhilarating activities you can enjoy in this game lies in the circus. Meet Cool Joe, professional acrobat and master of balls. Or at least he was until that fateful day 5 years ago. Cool Joe was once the star of the circus. His acrobatic skills earned him praise and fame throughout the world. He had even mastered the dangerous art of ball riding. Nobody could play with balls like Joe did. But disaster would eventually come. During one of his performances, some absolute prick tossed a banana peel into the show area, causing poor Joe to slip and injure himself. He was no longer able to ride balls. Now he's the janitor. Still, he offers to train your monster in ball riding, which is nice because you win coins from doing so. So yeah, you can earn money by having your monster play with balls for him. But anyway, just keep Cool Joe in mind. One other activity is cockfighting. Your monster has a deck of gems, each with their own effect, and you use them in battle to beat the artificial heck out of your enemies. And this is where I awkwardly segue back into this video's main subject. Lil Monster's Japanese name is Gem Monster, and that's highly appropriate because it's focused on gem collection and battles. One day, this little guy called Hot Joe stumbled upon a monster injured by, oh snap, Cool Joe. You play as some undefined being who conveniently happens to be there and gets entrusted with taking care of it. I guess the monster dies sometime in the following 10 seconds, since you then get to pick from one of 6 basic gems to revive it with, each resulting in a different monster. Once you've picked your punching bag, Hot Joe talks about how he invented gem battles, which is basically cockfighting, and throws you and your injured monster headfirst into a battle. Are we sure that Cool Joe is the bad guy here? Either way, you'll be doing a lot of this, so maybe it's about time I start talking about it. Your monster gets a deck of 20 gems, in which you can have whatever gems you want as long as you don't have more than 4 copies of a specific gem in it. There are 2 types of gems, circle and square. Circle gems have to be used in order to activate their effect, and typically deal damage or heal the user. Square gems, which don't look like squares, provide passive bonuses if they are in the monster's gem area, such as increased attack power. In battle, you get 4 gems to pick from. You start with 4 randomized gems, which get replaced with new ones as you use them. Your objective is simple: reduce the opponent's HP to 0. After the enemy monster has been amply trashed, Hot Joe mentions that his brother Cool Joe is too cool for rules. He also talks about a star gem that can grant wishes. Gathering the gem chips and finding the star gem is your ultimate goal. So off you go on your adventure. Oh, and the teacher guy from Kanzume Monsters is here too, and he's more useless than ever. The Ken world is a charming place. While the inhabitants are unique in terms of their noodle-inspired design, the Ken monsters and environments are all colorful and pretty and happy and stuff. The music is pretty catchy and colorful and pretty and stuff too. There are even separate battle themes for each area, which is a nice touch. Taking care of your monster involves feeding him, raising his happiness and earning experience points. Giving it food restores HP and increases its happiness, but also makes it fatter, which influences your monster's speed in battle. Happiness and weight can also be changed through a couple of rare items. A lot of the racing mechanics from Kanzume Monsters was completely removed, however. You have a variety of activities available. In town you can buy items or sell gems, talk to the useless teacher again if you really must, play the Jamrock minigame or search the streets for empty cans like a hobo. Outside town you can explore the various areas, solve puzzles, get trashed by Cool Joe or challenge the arena. In here you have 4 ranks, each with 5 consecutive battles, and winning earns you a gem in addition to the ones you get from defeating each opponent. You see, to get more gems you have to defeat enemy monsters. Lil Monster is rather interesting in this department because there are no random encounters. Instead, you set one of your gems and each gem summons a specific monster. You can then either give it an item, which might open up a new area or get you something in return, or you can fight it. Defeating it gives you a different gem from the one used to summon. What this means is that you can summon different monsters and slowly expand your collection as you discover new monsters and gems. You don't lose the gems used to summon the monsters either, so you can fight them over and over again. Steadily growing a collection of gems is one of the best parts of the game. But this is the part where I start trashing the game with hyperbole and make it sound like the worst thing mankind has ever produced. Despite the game's selection of cute monsters, pretty backgrounds and catchy music, the gameplay is kind of a pile of dolphin dicks. Space dolphin dicks. The gems you get in combat are completely randomized, so trying to build up any sort of complex strategy is an exercise in futility. I found that the best strategy is to pray to your favorite god and use the gems that do the most damage, some healing gems and the min hand and high speed gems, which double your attack power and speed respectively and are pretty much essential for the stronger enemies. Since you can endlessly summon monsters, it's easy to get multiples of the same gem, so you'll build up an effective deck easily. There are other gems with different effects, but they're usually not particularly worth using. The strongest enemies do tons of damage either way, so you're better off quickly smacking them back and healing when necessary, which is basically every 2 turns. The final boss is by far the worst. Not only is its meteor drive capable of taking down your monster in a single strike if you haven't level grinded enough, but it can also use Dragon Scale, which returns the damage the user has taken back at the target. Considering that its maximum HP sits comfortably in the range of enough to annoy you, this means that your monster sits comfortably in the range of instantly dead if you deal any significant amount of damage. This is compounded by the fact that, even though the different monsters you can fight have different stats and movesets, the only noticeable difference for your own monster is its element. The only way to change your monster's species is to let it die and use a different gem, but that resets the love meter, which rises very slowly unless you use rare items or instead feed it a billion burgers. But if you do that, the monster will get fat and slow, so screw that. Strangely enough, there's no simple way to fully heal your monster outside of battle. You either give it food, which again will make it fat, or you win the battle after using healing gems, which gives the opponent turns to ruin your day. There is also no description of any sort for each gem. Some are self-explanatory, some you'll figure out after trying them out, and others might end up leaving you wondering, like the previously mentioned Dragon Scale and Min Hand gems. The nonsense required to progress in the story is also quite obtuse at some points. To unlock new areas, you usually need to either give a certain monster a certain item or use a certain item in a certain area, to which you usually have no hint of. There aren't that many items, so you eventually stumble upon something, probably a walkthrough, but my cynical side says that this was done to extend the game's length, since the story itself is quite short. I'd also like to take a moment to say that the fishing minigame is complete bollocks. So yeah. Lil Monster is the kind of game that fails to sell itself on its gameplay. It's unbalanced, overly reliant on luck, and occasionally more obtuse than my current upload schedule. It does, however, have a lot of charm in its sound and visuals, and if anything is going to decide whether you like the game or not, it will probably be these.